top 3 records produced, I have to say one, of course, Public Enemy. And the record to me, my favorite, if it would, is Black Steel and the Hour of Chaos. And that record speaks for itself. When that record was made, I think that Romeo Blue, he was Romeo Blue at the time. Y'all know him as Lenny Kravitz today. He was in the studio with his wife, Lisa Bonet. All right, and she was still taping on the Cosby Show, and she was pregnant with her first child. And they came in the studio, and I don't play anybody music in the studio. I don't have any outside influences. Russell, Rick, none of the Def Jam people allowed in the studio. No managers, not even the Flavor's not even allowed in the studio unless he has his particular part to do at that time. Because the studio to me is a temple, it's sacred. It's only for those people that are working on the specific project and task at hand. So nobody ever comes to the studio. This was one time I made an exception to let them hear it because we was at the end of completing the project. And so I played them Black Steel and Hour of Chaos. And I just waited for the reaction because I never asked anybody what you think about a record. I just play it and then it'll be just that uncomfortable silence that'll be there. And then it was Lisa that came out and said, wow, that's the most interesting record I've ever heard. And when I heard that, I said, okay, this record has potential. I never use my own judgment and say, okay, this record is that's gonna be the shit, because you never know. Don't Believe the Hype, for example. That was a throwaway record. I've never thought that record would be anything. And matter of fact, it was put on the shelf. What brought it off the shelf was DMC. DMC used to have this Bronco that he had, and he had the ridiculous sound system in the Bronco. And so what he did was he was out on 125th Street, and I think that the Apollo there was a concert in the Apollo Theater, and right after when everybody was coming out, DMC was playing the demo of Don't Believe the Hype. Everybody was going crazy on 125th Street for this record. And D came back, was calling us everything, and called Russell and Rick and everybody and said, yo, this record is blazing. And he would even call and have people listening to it while he's playing outside, and the heads is all outside like boom. Now you have to understand something. Back then, that was an anomaly to have a sound system in a car that was booming like that, and where cats can be on the streets and hear a record like that. So they hearing this, and the heads was out there like mad deep, thousands deep out there. So when he came back with that, that's when we realized that we had to release that record. And that's what forced us to release that record. That's why I don't use my own particular head when I listen to records. I listen to you guys. I listen to the streets. Don't Believe the Hype, PE's number 2. Number 3, it would have to be Bell Biv DeVoe. All right, and the reason why I'm gonna say Bell Biv DeVoe is because that record was the start of what I consider to be the merging rap and R&B together. That Ricky, Ronnie, and Michael were background singers now. They had no leading role in New Edition at all. They were kind of like the misfits. That was the throwaway. I was like, hey, we'll throw them over here. We'll see if they come up with something. By me working with them, I did a record called Thought It Was Me, and I gave them the blueprint for the style on which they need to come away with. And then he played me a demo from Spider-Man and Freeze, and that was the record of Poison. But it was very, very laid back. And so I said, I'll go in there and I'll remix this thing up and give it some like oomph. That record, jettisoned their entire career. And that to me is what music is all about. And one of the things that we as a producing team that I was always big on, I was never big on riding the coattail of an artist. I want to be the igniter. I want to be the one that start the fire for you. So with that, all the artists that people didn't know what to do with, for example, Slick Rick. You know, Slick Rick was sitting on the shelf at Def Jam after he had did the record, The Ruler's Back. And that record, you know, got a little buzz on on radio station that was there, Kiss FM at the time and Red Alert show. It was like in that state of, we don't know what to do with this guy. And so I went and said, well, let me go and sit down with them and see what we can come up with. And he said, Hank, if you can do that, that would be great. So sitting down with Rick, figuring out his ideas, because Rick had an enormous amount of crazy ideas, and I wanted to merge and produce that project so that it becomes cohesive. That's why that thing is a two-part series, Bell Biv DeVoe and The Great Adventures of Slick Rick.
My biggest concern with this country is absolutely the prison industry, the prison industrial complex, because oppression, systemic oppression, white supremacy, all these things, the biggest tentacle of it, the most effective tool of it is the prison industry.
It's a war right now. So if you think you're just gonna just throw one of our young brothers in the back of a truck and bounce them around and be like, yo, we just, you know, sometimes it's called the nickel ride, word? So we still doing stuff from the 1800s.
Peace decides to surprise us with this crazy beat. The beat was crazy. And so we got hyped, we was all hyped. And by 10 just went out of control. There was a pole in the middle, on the side of the stage. And he started going around the pole super fast. And me and El started looking like, what is gonna go on?
To see him coming, I'm still thinking that's some sound guy or whatever. And he's going, and I go, huh? And he just stole on me. Pop and clocked me like right around here. He got me good. As soon as I went to punch him back,